Well. It is Friday, and it's Bring It In with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
Jarod, I am well. Thank you very much. Life is taking a turn for the better, it seems.
Good,
So that's always
good.
a good thing.
Dad's doing well. Everybody's feeling a little happy in the fam.
Dad's doing better. It's a day-by-day thing, but and my wife is, after like a year and a half, she's finally coming home. If Hawaii will let her leave,
it was like a week.
It was 10 days, buddy. That's the longest we've ever been apart where I've not been traveling on business. And I'm fine with it. If it wasn't for my damn dog, I'd be great. But I'm walking freaking 5 miles a day.
What's wrong with the dog? He misses his mom, is what I imagine.
I think he's a little sad, and no, he needs exercise, and so I'm doing about 5 miles a day with him.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's actually working out okay. I'm not sore or anything. It's a good sign, but I may collapse tomorrow. We'll see.
And are you guys bonding? Is he bonding with Dad? Is he like, all right, like
his breed does do that. I think he likes me just fine, but I ain't her. Like, and I have to tell him, buddy, this is not going to happen. Like, I'll give you 20 minutes at night. We'll sit in the same chair. And then I speak to him like we all do, as if he's as a person that can understand.
Right.
Like, when your mom comes back, she can lay with you for an hour and a half, watch TV. That's not how I roll. I'm going to go do this and do this. I can't sit down for long. I stand up watching games all the time.
Yeah. And he's like, what is happening? Where's my mom? She needs to come back.
He's giving me some stink eyes and some quick eyes. Yeah. He's like, what the fuck's going on? This is not the deal I signed up for. I'm pretty sure he's thinking.
Dogs are great. Love it. Speaking of people who are happy and doing well, the Rutgers University men's basketball team, Scarlet Knights, my alma mater, for the first time in school history, defeated a number one ranked team, the Purdue Boilermakers, last night. Judy, if we want to run that clip.
This is so exciting. Yeah, they're playing Purdue, who are just waxing teams. They're fantastic. Purdue.
Yeah. Just made number one, and it was a hell of a buzzer beater.
Yeah, when you're number one, and you've never been number one before, at least not in decades, shit happens. I know Judy's trying to cue the thing up. Like every team is so excited, and college kids tend to get a little bit too caught up in the emotion anyway.
Right.
I don't think it's anything against Rutgers. They deserve to win the game. Purdue probably didn't take them for granted. It's just easier to believe yourself. If you listen to Nick Saban talk, who's the Alabama football coach, probably the best college coach of all time
for
football. Sure. He just preaches that all the time. Like, it's so easy to get caught up in your record,
Here we go.
This is Iowa State.
Iowa, it's all right, Judy. Don't worry about it. The point is, Ron Harper Jr., the son of Ron Harper. Yes, Caleb makes us all feel old. He hit just inside half court, buzzer beaten three at the rack. I mean, they call it the Jersey Mike Arena. I don't know that. When I was there, it was called the rack. That's what we call it.
So they call it what? The Jersey Mike Arena?
The Jersey Mike Arena. Yeah, I'm like,
okay. It's pretty good.
I mean, look, fine. They got some money. Cool. Whatever.
Well, now I know why. My son will not let us go to Jersey Mike's when he was living here, because it's more expensive than the other 5 different Subway places we can go to include Publix. Now I know why it's so expensive. Naming rights are freaking costly.
Exactly right. Naming rights are costly. But, it was just nice for Rutgers to have that moment. And again, Ron Harper Jr., someone who, he's a senior. He had 30 points and 10 rebounds last night, 10 of 15 shooting. So quite good night from the field. He'll go to the draft combine. We'll see what happens. He's a big kid. He's got to lose a little bit of weight. And, like everybody else who potentially gets drafted, it's going to be about how much they can develop and what place they get drafted to and what type of development can happen there. And we know that most teams in the NBA are pretty shitty at that. So,
hey, Jarod, when it used to be the case where after a championship, fans could storm the floor. We all remember, I remember many episodes growing up. When did that stop? Because that's pretty, in college, when it happens, it's pretty damn cool.
Oh, they stormed literally that just happens all the time now. You can beat anybody. Like it's just any game. It's like, but outside of a playoff game. Right.
That's the dream scenario. The last second three where you're not breaking a tie, you're losing to the number one team in the country. Like that's the dream.
Oh, for sure.
Every kid has. And so that was amazing.
Especially for Rutgers, because they just got thumped by Illinois about a week ago. And they lost to Lafayette at home, and Lafayette's 2-7, right? So this was huge and for all the right mojo. So hopefully some nice momentum for them as they take care of or they head to in-state rival Seton Hall, ranked 23rd, who also came up their own upset last night against number 7 Texas on Saturday. So we'll see how that goes. All right, enough of this college talk, because as you know, I hate college sports. All right, so Cleveland Cavaliers coach, let's talk about him. You had a wonderful piece come out this week on the site. Look, we talk about Evan Mobley. We know how good he is. Their defense coach is for real. And that's making them a phenomenal ball club. It's leading to obviously transition points, and they're able to get out in the break, and they're young legs, and they're just running by a lot of old teams sometimes. So what are you seeing, and why are you buying so much Cleveland Cavaliers stock?
Well, how would the Nets be with Jarod Allen at center? Prohibitive without Kyrie favorites, right? That dude is such a good player. I really like him. And he's not a great shot blocker. He's solid as a shot blocker. He's a great rim protector. And what I mean by that is you don't get great angles against him. He really knows how to defend. And he's first of all, he makes 7 of 10 shots. Only Rudy Gobert makes more in terms of percentage. 70% at the rim. He takes nothing but amazing shots. And he's an underrated passer when I started studying them. I didn't put this part of my piece, but he like makes easy plays. And then you've got Darius Garland. At point guard, who is 21 years old, scoring 20 points a game, really shoots it. I see a lot of Kyrie in him in terms of just slickness with the ball. A better shooter at that age, probably. He's going to be a Team USA star. Like, this guy's going to be one of the better point guards in the league, I think. And a top 5 pick, he should be. Well, he should have a chance to be. And but not a good defensive player. But when you've got Mobley, which I'll talk about in a second, and Allen, like, that's what you need when you're Darius Garland. It's what Damian Lillard needs. When you're a little guard, you need big guys to help you bail you out, even if you're trying. And then Mobley, and I wrote this, he just elevates everything. If you just had a solid 4-man, then they might still be a playoff team, but Mobley gives them a huge window to compete and contend for championships. He's so gifted. His hands are unbelievable. His poise and pace, incredible. Never in a rush. Great quickness. Knows how to play, and isn't yet finishing. But I was
gonna say, and he's got so much room to get better. Room to get better.
Like, I think I wrote this. I thought Jaren Jackson Jr. could be Tim Duncan 2.0, and Mobley is already there in terms of earning that. He's not Tim Duncan yet, but it's coming. Like, that guy he can lead the league in defense. He can lead the league in rebounding. He can score 20 points a game and be an amazing teammate. Like, that dude's got it all. So, and then the other interesting thing is I watched them against Milwaukee. Jarod Allen guarded Giannis pretty well. So did Lauri Markkanen from the perimeter. Yeah. Giannis took him inside and roasted him for an and one right away. But he was able to slide his feet, and he's 7 feet tall. Combine those 3 big, 3, 4, 5, they're 21 feet tall. Yep. Which is why I mentioned the old.
And Lauri can space.
Yeah, right. He's not shooting well this year. He shot 40% from 3 last year. Give him time. And Mobley's going to be a shooter. Not yet, but he's going to be a shooter. So it's an interesting jumbo size experiment with an elite point guard. And then remember this, and I just didn't want to have too much in this article. They've got Colin Sexton, I think, out for the season with he had surgery, but he's a built-in Lou Williams. He's a built-in Jamal Crawford. If he's willing, and he may not say, that's the question, willing to come off the bench and compete for 6th man of the year every year, which he has a great chance of getting some, because he'll score close to 20 points a game off the bench. Well, now they can check off that box. Now he's got to fill in a couple of spots. He may not be willing, which means they'll trade him for a decent piece. Right. And then the other top 5 pick they have, Isaac Okoro, who can't shoot right now, but he's only 20. So Mobley's 20, Okoro's 20, Garland's 21, Allen's 24, Markkanen's 25.
Yeah, future's bright in Cleveland.
I wrote a piece this summer about Atlanta's going to win a title. Well, they're the 2 top teams going forward when you look 5 years and so. It's Atlanta and Cleveland. So I'm super excited for him.
I love what I'm seeing out of Cleveland. I'm with you right there. I also, my thing, Coach, if you could have a team of all, for lack of a better term, or 3 out of 5 starters are Kevin Durant or 6'10" and taller dudes who can space, you're doing quite well. Yeah. So again, if you can have 3 guys, as you mentioned, 21 feet who can be on the floor at the same time because they can switch out and you have the appropriate spacing, that's a nightmare. I mean, because I don't know what other teams can combat that. You got a lot of trouble there. And I love what Cleveland's doing. Mobley he's so good already. Like, coach, most rookies are overall net negatives to their team. That's just because it's hard. Yeah. He's plus 3.6 in defensive estimated plus minus as a rookie, 25 games into his career. It's stupid.
Yeah. And he's also super skinny. He's going to get stronger. Your point on the size of them, Okoro is not tall, but he's built like PJ Tucker. In fact, I wrote, he's PJ Tucker, but he's the early PJ Tucker that couldn't shoot and had to go to overseas. But this guy, he's better in transition than probably PJ ever was. But if he can ever develop any kind of shot, because right now nobody guards him, which means you can't play him in the playoffs probably, he becomes a very interesting defensive guy as a glue guy for that team. Again, he's got to buy into that. But when you're not that tall, but you're that strong, you really can guard almost anybody because you can prevent people from getting where they want to go. You can't contest their shot, but you can bump them out where they want. They can't get by you. They can't get angles. They've got the makings of it. And then let's give credit to Coach Bickerstaff, who I've never thought was any good as head coach. But I've always said, you've heard me say it a million times, coach is allowed to get better. And I'm watching this team play, and it's not just a good job by management or a good job with him building culture. They're running really good things. They're getting easy buckets off timeouts. He's doing the little things very well. I'm very happy for him. I don't particularly care for the town of Cleveland in terms of fans. They're the worst radio people I've ever dealt with, mostly. There are exceptions, but I've not been a big fan of being on their shows when they were good and how they've handled it. But I can't argue with the product on the floor right now. Yeah. They're played I didn't write this. They play the 3rd toughest schedule in the league.
Yeah. Well, that's how I know they're legit.
Net margin.
That's how I know that their defense is legit, right? So they're going to be around, coach. Like they're and that defense is going to have them make a first-round playoff series against whomever they're matched up against a nightmare. I don't care who it is. They're just not going to like it.
They're not. And I don't think Sexton come back. They can also make a move to get better this year if they want. I don't want them to sacrifice their future.
I agree.
But yeah, this is a team that's going to be good for a long time.
Well, speaking of teams that are not good right now and may not be good for a long time, the Indiana Pacers. So the Athletic Shams Charania reported that the reset button is coming, and we can talk about Coach Carlisle's COVID positive PCR test coming later, but they're looking at hitting the reset button. So Karis LeVert, Miles Turner, and or Domantas Sabonis could be out on the move, and it's time to rebuild. I would like to point this out. Nate McMillan got the boot from there, and they were like, we need somebody better who can really get us over the hump. Meanwhile, when you had that squad, he was winning you 40-something games, and you were making the playoffs every year. You're bringing Nate Bjorkgren last year. The team had a damn near mutiny, and he was out. And you got the great Rick Carlisle. He's not able to do much better with this team, right? So all I'm saying is, right, sometimes the grass ain't always greener on the other side. Like, be happy with what you got, because with your roster, it's probably good enough. Now the question is, with Brogdon and those guys, like what makes sense? Now, to be fair, TJ Warren hasn't played since the bubble. So, and that hurt. That matters for them. But if you're Indiana, what are you looking to get back for Turner or LeVert? Excuse me.
That's you. All right. So a couple of things. Number one, Nate McMillan, who's now got Atlanta, one of the hot teams in the league after what he did last year. And he's another guy that's improved a lot as a coach, in my opinion. A lot of former players, that's what you have to do. Like, you got to go through some stuff because you were a player. If I'm Indiana, I wouldn't do a thing, Jarod. I would have a serious talk with Miles Turner first. Miles Turner is complaining about his role. Well, when you've made all-star teams and you're paid good money, which he is, like, you can do whatever the hell you want. You may not be happy that teammates aren't throwing the ball. Don't talk about that in public. Talk to your team in private, but don't act like you don't have some green lights and some leverage. It's different when you're a young player not getting a chance and they tell you to sit in the corner all the time. I've coached guys that clearly were great players, but you didn't know until the coach changes and they let them start doing different things. That's not the case with an all-star like Miles Turner. I was not happy to see that. but I would talk with them and tell them to shut up, except for in the locker room. Say whatever you want in the locker room. We don't need you to talk to the media and make it a big deal. We're trying to build some culture here. They're 11-16, but they're not a bad team.
No, they have a positive net rating.
Right. What are they in net rating?
Plus like 1 point something. Yeah. They're like 18th, 19th, somewhere around there.
Oh, I thought they might be higher than that. They've lost a lot of close games, more than what you typically expect. And like you said, TJ's been out. Levert's only been back for a little bit. It isn't rounding into shape yet. Mm-hmm. I really think that they might have something as is, and I'd want to see them play it out. Now, if TJ can't ever come back, well, they're definitely flawed. And they could really press the reset button and get a whole bunch of young players and picks. I just wouldn't do it just yet, but I first got to get Miles. Like, we talk about Cleveland. Here's another Indiana. Here's another team that's got 2 7-footers basically playing, more or less. That's, people are going small. Here's 2 jumbo teams in the middle of the country going big.
Yep.
If they want to make some moves, I mean, Toronto could really use a center.
Yeah. I mean, their 13th coach in adjusted net rating at 1.5.
Okay, yeah.
So
so pretty good.
So which basically means that, right, they're outscoring their opponents by just shade over a point per 100.
Yeah, they've lost some close games. They've lost coin flip games more. Coin flip games are 50-50. That's why we call them coin flip games.
But they've lost more than
losing more than 50%. But that normally comes around at some point. So I wouldn't. Yeah, and Devin said the Hornets could use Turner.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the Hornets could use Turner. I was fooling around with on the trade machine. Brooklyn needs rebounding, right? So do you take Sabonis instead of Turner, right? Because for as good as Turner is, he doesn't rebound as well as he probably should for his size. What would you get back if you're Indiana and you're talking to Brooklyn about Sabonis, right? You're definitely going to want all the young guys, right? You're going to want Thomas, Sharp, Claxton, right? Like it's all the young people come back, but then you're gonna have to have salary that matches, right?
Well, hold on, Jarod. Does Indiana have I'm certain they don't have a rule about vaccine mandate, and that's
they do not. So yes, Kyrie Irving, yes, that he could easily go.
Now, of course, and now you just trade one guy, and now you've got Kyrie. You're hoping Levert comes back. Back to his old self. You've got TJ, hopefully. You've got Miles Turner to protect Kyrie, like we talked about. The little guard needs the big center that can protect the rim, and Turner's the best shot blocker in the league. Not in the world, probably. There's a couple guys in Europe that are really good, but maybe it's certainly in the league. And so, that I don't know if people are writing about that, but that's possible.
That's possible. But again, if you're Indiana, you probably don't want the headache or like that's the thing. It's like what GM is like, yeah, sure, I'll take that on. Probably no one, but it'll be interesting. There's also talk about the Warriors potentially getting Turner. The thing about Turner that is helpful is that in the postseason, when certain teams go small, he is a 5 that can stay on the floor, right? Yeah, because he can switch out. And that's the thing. You need, if you're gonna have a 5 that's integral, can he stay on the floor when teams go small? And he is one of the ones that can do that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in Indiana, but not going well right now. Another place where things aren't going well, Portland. So we talked about it on Monday. Obviously, Neil Olshey's out. Poor CJ McCollum collapsed lung. Yeah. They got a first-year head coach. They just have a lot of problems in Portland right now. And I just don't know how any of that gets better, save Dame literally turning back into all-NBA first-team guard level Dame. And even that's still not enough with the rest of that roster, but at least they'll play better basketball.
But hey, Jarod, hasn't the situation switched in this way? We've been discussing at TrueHoop for months about Dame requesting a trade and all of that. But don't you think now Portland has to think, well, we have to trade this guy? I mean, he's saying he wants to stay, but and maybe he's being honest. I'm not going to call him a liar. Let's take him at his word. But why would you want to have to then? He's asking for the biggest salary of all time starting next year with his extension, $50 million a year, whatever it is. Why would you do that if you're Portland, knowing that you cannot win a championship with that roster?
Well, it's so complicated, right? Because as Henry's talked about, Jody Allen likely wants to sell this team. And if you are putting the Blazers up for sale, does a new owner potentially want the franchise with someone like Damian Lillard already attached to it? I don't know. Maybe. Well,
let's talk about it. I've dealt with more than a few owners on these kinds of subjects. Do we really think a team that a group of very, very wealthy individuals, led by the wealthiest typically of the individuals, is not going to buy a team because they decided to keep their aging star guard and overpay him. I don't think that's true anymore. It's possible because owners necessarily don't understand the NBA, but these guys are making a long-term play. When I say long-term, 5, 10, 15 years, where almost no matter what, whatever you put into the team, you're going to get back times 2, times 3. You know, the guys that bought the Grizzlies, for example, for 300 some odd thousand, it's now valued at 1 point whatever billion. Okay. So again, what are you doing? No owner wants to be in the business of overpaying someone for a team that ends up not winning a championship. Also, hard enough to overpay, but to overpay and not be a champion. So I asked you the same question, Jarod. Whether Dame wants to stay or not, is it now the time for the Blazers to say, we have to trade you?
Yeah, I think so, especially with that now that Neil's gone, right? And they have to get a new GM anyway. Like and with CJ and the collapsed lung, it is totally the perfect time for it. Total reset there in Portland. Now, the question is, obviously you want back a lot of young talent, draft picks, and controllable contracts so that you can have something to build for the future. You're already going to be, I mean, if you trade Dame, you're going to bottom out, right? So you're going to probably be in the lottery. So that's good for you for this year. And then whatever you get comes back. So that opens up again. Is Philly on the table now, right? Because that's what Daryl said. I'm not trading Ben unless I get back a difference maker. Well, healthy Damian Lillard is a difference maker. Does that work for you? Maybe. Okay, we'll see. There's talk about New York. They're always talk about New York, but what does New York have in terms of picks and assets that Portland will want? Now, they definitely have some young guys, right? But if you're New York, I want to keep Emmanuel Quigley. I want to keep Obi Toppin, right? I don't want to get rid of those guys and bring in old dudes. Do you trade away your draft future, right? And this is what the Knicks got in trouble with for so many years in the past, right? And they're finally back on solid footing. So it's the roll of the dice, right? Like, do you think now's the time to quote unquote go all in? If I'm New York, no. If I'm Philly, yes, because of who I have on my team. I got Joel Embiid. I got Seth Curry. I got Tyrese Maxey, who's fantastic. Can I keep Maxey out of a trade? Maybe tough, right? That may be difficult, but we'll see.
I would think that is probably too difficult. Portland's going to want him. I think you put it best. Yeah, the Knicks probably don't make a lot of sense. I love the idea of putting him with Karl-Anthony Towns, but he's not going to love that. No. He's not going to want to go to that terrible franchise. And Portland could get Anthony Edwards for that and money. Yeah. But that's not going to happen. So it comes down to this. You got to say to Damian, where do you want to go? If it's your list, it used to be the other way around a little bit. Damian kind of pushing them. Now they've got to say, okay, we've got to trade you. We're not going to talk about it until we do the deal. But where do you want to go? Give us 5 teams. And we're going to exhaust every effort for those 5 teams. We're not guaranteeing we can get it done.
Right. And
then we'll go another 3 or 4 teams from there. But you've got to give us a list so we can get back what we want. And then you're doing the same thing with Nurk. So everyone, all their players, you can trade for value except for probably CJ. Nurk will bring back something decent. He's probably, paid at least what he's worth, maybe a little bit less. Certainly Powell looks good.
Yeah. Powell will get you something.
Larry Nance going to get something in return. You can get first-round picks, second-round picks, young players that have some potential. Take a flyer on Marvin Bagley, who's not an old guy. Like, you can move around and press the reset button. They can do that. Damian is the big one. Or they can decide, let's just trade Damian for a Ben Simmons type and see what we got with just a different look. But what I'm saying is to keep Damian, knowing what he's going to ask for makes no sense.
Well, knowing what he's going to ask for and knowing that Damian is also being very clear, Dame's been clear about wanting to win a championship. This team is nowhere near that level of a roster, like not even close. And he said that, and his teammates know that, right? So it's like, it's time to, again, let's reset. Let's reset.
Do you think, Jarod, do you think that when he said just yesterday, I believe the senator wrote it, I'm committed to be here and I'm meeting with Chauncey to figure it out. Do you think that's positioning, spoken really by his agent to tell him, you're not going to be the bad guy when we trade you?
Yeah, that Dame does not want to be seen as the bad guy. And that's my position on that. That's why he's constantly coming out and saying, unless I say I want to trade, don't take it. That's the whole thing. Starting this summer, he does not want to be viewed as the bad guy in this situation. So that's clearly, in my estimation, what that is.
I agree with you. I think it's the fullback blocking up the middle, and it allows him to say when he's traded, They presented me this trade opportunity. They convinced me that it's the best thing for the franchise. I hate living Portland. They hate trading me.
Right. He can say all the right things and it works.
All things considered, it's the best thing for the health of the Portland franchise. I'm going to go in the Hall of Fame as a Blazer. Just say that.
Right.
You can always renege later if you want to, but you'll be a hero when you say that. And I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but it should. It needs to.
The list of teams, because again, he's going to want to go to a team that can contend right away. I mean, how many teams are able to do that right now? They can move for him. Not many, right? Yeah. Without having, unless you get into like a 3 or 4 team deal where another superstar moves from somewhere else, which could surely happen. I can't see the tea leaves currently at the moment to do that, but I'm sure it can. I want to talk about improved offenses last season to this season. So Judy, if you can pull up that link. So John Schumann on NBA.com does his power rankings every Monday. And then on Thursday, I believe he does his notebook, and it has, just some special little tidbit about, who's done what, who's improved and something extra. And in a year where defense has gotten better, he's looking at offenses that have improved. Right. And so keep scrolling, Judy. And so if you look at, he'll show some teams here in a minute. Okay, perfect. Right there. So teams from last year to this year that made major jumps, in offense: Cleveland, Charlotte, Utah, and Chicago. Utah went from 4 to 1. I mean, I'm not going to call it the biggest jump because it's whatever.
Still, that's really hard to do.
But that is very hard to do. Yeah. Golden State, obviously, Cleveland, Chicago, right? Like everybody's making these improvements. And I think it's fantastic. And one of the things I'm seeing, Coach, is how you're able to make these jumps, particularly a team like Cleveland. I don't think it's coincidence that their defense also improved dramatically, which is why their offense is also ticked up.
Yeah, I mean, there's at the end of the day, you got to make shots efficiently and productively. So in Charlotte's case, they have a fucking horrid defense, but Bridges has become a much better shooter. So is LaMelo Ball. Now that doesn't continue. Watch those numbers drop because they're not generating stuff from their defense. They're bottom 2 or 3 in the league, I think, defensively. Cleveland is a different story. So there's a couple of things that work here, Jarod. Yes, you can look at things like transition points and fast break points and points off turnovers. All these transition, fast break are the same thing. Points off turnovers, points in transition. That is defense generated. The other part is that's the physical part. The psychological part is, and this is something I preach to NBA players all the time, all players all the time, is this the general feeling of confidence you gain when your team plays a good defensive possession and you were involved in that. It lends to feeling better about yourself offensively. And so that's that double-edged sword of we got to kill them one way because we're creating turnovers off our defense. We kill them the other way because we just feel better. We're more connected. We always talk about the runs in the NBA, the positive runs, the negative runs. Those are the emotional roller coaster rides that we all see as fans, as coaches and players. And when you're just guarding consistently, you just feel more confident, and it very often will show up offensively. And then I also think, you got to credit coaches for recognizing we got to tweak some things, we got to adjust some things. Cleveland to me is a great example of that. Golden State is getting better production.
Yes,
they're
Jordan
also
Poole,
guarding
different guys, and they're guarding it. Yeah,
they're guarding. So only Charlotte in that group isn't. But I would, just to go back on Utah real fast, I remember Daryl Morey telling me one time, a long time ago, that guys that are shooting 87% from the line, like you just don't expect them to go 87.5 the next year, 88. When you're at that highest level, to get even better is just so rare. In fact, I literally think he said to me something like, it's like lightning striking more than once if you keep getting better when you're already at like 86%. I had a player doing that. That's why he called to tell me about it. When you're 4th in the league as Utah and you get better, how does that happen? And of course, it could easily change with a bad week or two shooting.
Right.
But yeah, we'll get to our top 5 at the end. Like they're back to looking really damn good.
And they looked incredible last night, putting the beat down on Philadelphia. Just really, really impressive. Look, Utah, Coach, their judgment's going to come in the postseason. We know they're going to win a bunch of regular season games. We want to see this Quinn make some changes as he do different things come postseason when that time comes. So we're here. Rudy Gobert. Let's talk about him. Why? People who don't, I don't want to say don't understand basketball because that like belittles them, but people who only think about highlights and don't recognize the value that Gobert puts on the floor, right? What he's able to do in one possession. The fact that someone doesn't even bother driving to the lane, that matters, right? Like that's a thing I will say with my chest, Caleb. If you don't understand that Rudy Gobert is excellent at basketball, you don't know what you're watching. There we go.
Yeah, this is a tweet. This guy, McCade, he's a big Jazz fan. I think that's a picture of Carlos Boozer in his icon there. So they played Philadelphia, Minnesota back-to-back games. Gobert, 30 points, 31 rebounds, 3 blocks, and was plus 42. And then Karl-Anthony Towns and Embiid combined for 41 points, which is more than Gobert's 30, and half the rebounds and less blocks. And we're minus 18, which is not just an individual thing. Obviously, it's a team thing. But I want to go back to my article on Cleveland. It was all based on one play that really struck me. It was a 2-point play for the Cavs in a game they lost. But there was some shit going on in that play that really kind of caught my attention. But separate from what I saw with Cleveland was just how much Rudy Gobert involved everything. He broke up a lob pass for a dunk for Jarod Allen. And then Allen an easy tip, and Gobert blocked that away. And then chased down the loose ball, just missed it because of Mobley's brilliance with a left-hand backhand play. I don't know if you saw the play. Mobley made an amazing play. Darius Garland recognizes, man, Gobert's on 3-point line. I'm going to go to the rim. He goes to the rim. Here comes Rudy. Bam! Right against the board. Ball's going out of bounds. Who saves it? Rudy. And then Ruby ultimately gives it back to. Oh, I forgot when he breaks up the Allen lob. Mobley gets it. 6 seconds on the clock, and Mobley, who's a tall dude, puts a beautiful arc on it because he had to. Because there's Rudy, but anyway, the end of the play, Garland has the ball in the wing. Clock ticking down. There's a lot of time on the clock, though. Rudy is now in what we call drop position, guarding the near side block. And Darius very wisely is like, I'm not going too deep this time. He went too deep the last time. Rudy blocked it so easily. Right. And he made a great 2-foot floater, which are not so easy to make.
That's a tough shot. Yeah.
Yeah. This is why Rudy is who he is. He broke up 3 plays at the rim and didn't break up one of them, just contested. And chased down a loose ball, and chased down a rebound, and then kept the layup from coming. He's extraordinary. He's an extraordinarily impactful player, and I think he's the face of advanced metrics.
Yes,
it's not hard to figure out points, rebounds, steals, blocks, assists, all those things.
Right, easy.
The advanced metrics allow us to find. It's like when you're mining for gold, which we did when we were kids in the mountains of North Carolina. And you're sifting the water and the dirt through the sifter. That's what advanced metrics are doing, is you shake it out, who's left that are really impacting games that don't jump out at you stat-wise across the board. And Rudy is the guy that just makes such a difference.
If you were to take Rudy Gobert off the Jazz, coach, and replace him with a league average center, what would the Jazz be like?
I mean, they would probably be a playoff team because Donovan Mitchell's incredible. Conley's very good, but forgettable. Maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seed. Have to fight every night. The Jazz typically wax teams. The thing we forget all the time about Rudy Gobert is he leads the league in dunks every year, and Giannis Antetokounmpo plays in the NBA. But Rudy Gobert leads him in dunks. Now it's a very different story. Rudy's not creating the dunks on himself; he's the recipient, but they still 2 points. He's still making 70+% of his shots at the rim while protecting everybody. So yeah, how you pose it is exactly right. A league average center, they're maybe a playoff team. They're not a 1 seed. They were the best team in the league last year, and maybe this year. You're allowed to figure stuff out. They're starting to figure stuff out. He is, and he's beaten Team USA in international play. He has an easy Hall of Famer that I just don't think gets the credit for it.
I thought it was funny after the Timberwolves game the other night. Pat Bev and Anthony Edwards were both talking a little bit. Like Anthony Edwards saying, like, Rudy Gobert doesn't put any fear in my heart going to the rim. And Pat Bev during the game was like, Rudy, I'm fooling you. And he got the tech, whatever. And my thing is, like, I get it. I know why NBA players make fun of Rudy. Like, I get it. Like, they won't admit it, but I've talked to enough to know why they don't like him. And it's fine. Whatever. I don't care. But the dude's good at basketball. Like,
he's amazing at basketball.
Right. And Anthony Edwards, like, okay, he didn't put any fear in your heart, but you missed layups, bro. So
But that's the thing. I'm so glad you said that. Rudy doesn't lead the league in block shots because he understands my job is to make you shoot shots you don't typically practice and make.
Exactly.
And miss more than you normally would. If I can block it, great. Especially when you don't see me coming, like he did the Garland block. Garland really screwed up. He took a layup as if no one's going to get to it, forgetting Rudy Gobert chases everything. And that's the secret about him that everyone knows he's got his 9'9", think about 9'9" standing reach. Right. Crazy. The rim is 9'12", 10 feet. And he's fast and quick and agile, but his motor is super hot. And that's what people don't realize. That's the secret sauce for him. He's got this incredible physical presence, being so tall and so long, but his motor is super hot. And so he's always around. And that one play is an example. I didn't mention any other players' names for the Jazz, except for Mike Conley, who didn't do anything. But Rudy's everywhere. And the Jazz are, the Jazz are, they'll trade Donovan Mitchell before they trade this guy, unless they're stupid, which they might be. And Donovan's having a great year. He really is. But there is no other Rudy Gobert on the planet right now.
Unless they're stupid, which they might be.
We'll see. They fucked around with the best team in the league last year.
They did.
They're doing okay right now. Let's just see how
they are. Go. So there is a fantastic HBO scripted series coming out. And Judy, I just want to play this clip because everyone, if you don't want to watch this, I don't know what's wrong with you.
There's two things in this world that make me believe in God. It's sex and basketball. You know?
I'm sleeping.
Her loss. I'm about to buy a team. I want to build something special, a real dynasty. But I need a partner.
First pick, the 1979 NBA draft. The Los Angeles Lakers select Irvin Magic Johnson.
With me, it's gonna be exciting.
I wanna take you higher, but you wanna get higher. Ooh, yeah, but you wanna get higher. Come on, Dad, higher. Light your fire, a little bit higher. I want higher, a little bit higher. I want higher, someone light your higher.
Magic motherfucking Johnson.
Style. Pizzazz. I don't know why basketball can't feel like that.
To me, Dr. Bus,
It's showtime.
it do.
Wait a second. My mind is blown.
You're like, I can't wait to watch this. It's going to be so good.
Listen, first of all, Norm Nixon was my favorite player.
Yes.
He's in this docuseries until Magic got to the Lakers. The Lakers were my favorite team. And I had no idea about any of this. And I love John C. Reilly.
Oh, he is one of the great character actors of our time. So good.
His
so
role,
good.
His song, Mr. Cellophane in Chicago.
Yep.
Is like an all-time classic. My wife and I love it. Wow.
Wow. I mean, that, first of all, it's done by Adam McKay, who's one of the great directors. Brilliant. And like it hits all your synapses are firing when you watch it. It's like, oh my God. And guys, if you didn't read any of the books or you don't know any of the history, I know Coach was around during that time.
Oh yeah.
Listen, they had some wild times in LA. Let me tell you. Okay. Like
when Magic, when they won their first championship, I was 14. So I didn't know about any of this stuff. I knew Norm Nixon had a great little hesitation jumper that I imitated in my driveway every day. And I love Jamal Wilkes. I could shoot like Jamal too. Not as good as Jamal. I lived that life. It was 11:30 tape delay on CBS. That was my thing. I didn't know about the other stuff. But I've read, there's never been a word written about those teams and Magic that I haven't read. Every book, many, many, many times. I didn't know anything about Dr. Bus. I still don't know a lot other than what people like Magic have said. But I like I saw a little scuffle with the Celtics in there. There's a scene where Kareem was an airplane, the movie. Yep. I saw that in the theater, was all fired up, you know. Like that was my childhood.
My dad says you think.
That's my childhood. So is that right, Devin? So he said it's based on a book. I didn't read that book.
I didn't read the
normally read
Perlman
that encore stuff.
book. Yeah, so it will. I mean, look, if you look at how basketball is now, how it's presented as a television product with cheerleaders and all that, and the glitz and glamour, Jerry Buss and the Lakers started that. Like that was, he realized, this is entertainment, right? Like you see him in the club and he's like, I don't know why basketball can't be that, right? Like Magic's like, it can be, right? Like that's how you sell it, right? To people who want more than just the game. Obviously, we love the game, but that's why it's able to be positioned as a television product because of all the other stuff.
I've often wondered, and I want your opinion on this, if you had transposed Magic and Bird, so Bird goes to LA, Magic goes to Boston. I used to think that it wouldn't have worked. I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like Hollywood would love to pretend to be tough.
Right.
It's not a tough area. Obviously, there's areas that are difficult to live, but it's LA, it's glitz and glamour. But Bird was so incredible.
Yeah.
They would have found a way to make him their guy. And Boston is so miserable for many reasons. Terrible weather. I love the city of Boston, don't get me wrong. But they're all about fighting. And I mean, I've been to Celtics games.
Yeah, they're nuts.
Pre-game, they're showing videos of fighting. But Magic would have brought smile to their faces for sure. Those guys saved the league. They really did.
So Magic won 5 titles. Bird won 3.
Yeah.
I think that still would hold up if they switch places.
Oh, I agree with you.
Something about the LA whatever, I don't know, would have jived with Bird long term. Like, I think he just would have been like, this is like insanity to me. Like, he fits that Boston, point. Right? Like, he fits that Boston, whatever they want to call themselves, blue collar, blah, all those silly, slightly racist tropes that people like to throw out. But he fits that. But LA, I think, would drive him nuts. Like, he'd just be like, what is all this nonsense? Like, I just want to play basketball.
Who is that playing Magic in the show?
Oh, it's a new actor, because when they did the credits, it was like an introducing, and they put his name. I forget the name. I don't know. Well, that's always the interesting part. So when the series comes on, I think what we'll do is during Bring It In, we'll maybe do 2 minutes every week about it. I want you to critique the basketball scene.
That's my heart. That's why I told you I really struggle.
I know, because as a coach,
I can watch Semi-Pro, the movie, because it's so silly and stupid.
Right.
I have a hard time. Like, I remember when the movie Coach Carter came out? So I never saw it because I actually spent some time with the real Coach Carter.
Okay.
For a period of weeks. He was involved with Slam Ball, and I was just at the same place they were at. I just know these things are they're just done so Hollywoody.
Yeah.
It's not real to me.
And the challenge is because they don't have enough people who can actually play ball, right? That's what makes it hard. So that they have to.
But Adam McKay loves basketball.
He does.
He might have brought in some technical people that'll be really good. Yeah. When does it start? In January?
No, March, I think. March. Yeah. I know.
I want to see it tomorrow.
But before the playoffs, come on, guys. What are you doing in March?
I got to finish The West Wing, which might be a while. I've watched more since my wife's been gone than I've ever would imagine watching real TV. And then I've never seen Succession. So.
When you start watching Succession, we'll get into Wealthy Man TV, because that's one of my hobbies. It is Quincy Isaiah. Thank you, Devin. That is who that is.
Quincy AC, but he's still playing.
So anyway, I can't wait to see that. That's going to be so much fun. So let's stick with the Lakers.
Yeah.
So AD. Look, I don't want to pile on him like this is all Anthony Davis's fault, but look. For who we all think and thought he is not living up to those expectations.
Yes.
When LeBron James is off of your team and it's a LeBron James created team, I realize that is a difficult thing for someone else to try to manage and carry, because the team is built for LeBron's specific skill sets. I understand that. But Anthony Davis, you know who Anthony Davis is? Who we thought he was, who Giannis Antetokounmpo is right now, right? That's who we thought Anthony Davis would be coming out of Kentucky. This guy can be DPOY and MVP. Giannis already did that, right? Like twice.
He can't be a primary ball handler like that. What we're talking about is there is a play that I saw on Twitter where he closes out a guy and just Jaren Jackson Jr. And it's a bullshit closeout and just gets blown by. And it's not a physical problem there.
Nope.
It's a poor
lazy
preparation and poor effort. Poor preparation, and poor effort. Now, Jackson, I don't know what Jackson's shooting from 3.
38.
So you got to close him out with some respect to that, but you damn can't let him go down the lane and get a dunk. Like, that's just bad. And I think it's ridiculous to fire Frank Vogel, but this is what happens when the team isn't getting traction.
Can't fire players.
Your coach. You fire your coach. And what's funny is, not funny, but what's ironic is Davis was the one always talking about defense when he first got there. And he did help hold LeBron accountable. LeBron's not playing defense like he was once capable. Maybe he can't, but neither is AD. And so the root of their problems is there. They can't guard like they could before.
I watched that entire Lakers-Grizzlies game last night. And Coach, you mentioned effort's one thing. We talk about this all the time. Your defensive stance. I mean, you're standing up straight. That's, of course, someone's going to blow right by you. You're not in any kind of position that may even potentially think about resistance. You're like, oh, sure, Matador.
On that play, you've got to come out butt down, arm up. You got to be prepared for the shot or the drive. It's hard to guard guys like Jaren Jackson when he's shooting well and attacking better, which he's doing a better job of. He's starting to live up to the hype that you and I have had for him for a while. So as opposed to guarding Russell Westbrook, where you're only worried about the drive. Again, a guy like that, especially as tall as Jackson is, you can't just sit in a stance because he'll just shoot over you as if you're not there. So you have to be a little bit higher than normal. Your arms got to be up early. We call it early high hand contests. And AD just mailed it in. It's just one possession. But like that snowballs. It can't happen. Now, I didn't see the game. If AD in the next time out said, guys, my bad, it was just awful, fine.
He did not.
It seems that there's not a connection there that's problematic for sure.
As I said, I watched that whole game. On another play, Jaren just bullied him down, took the ball off the dribble, put his shoulder into his chest, and got a jump hook over him. And again, and Anthony Davis was listed on the NBA's 75 greatest players of all time. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know that you've done anything in your career to warrant being on that list. Yeah, you got the title in the bubble, and that was the one stretch of playoff basketball we saw him play that was excellent. But let's be honest, that was under different circumstances, controlled environment, right? Like, we haven't seen you do that like in any other playoff series.
Well, they beat Portland in 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not stupid, Jarod. He has not done this much. This is your point. Is we've not seen consistent. I think his Pelican years were wasted because of it. It's just a terrible fucking franchise, and he's not a primary ball handler. And we have to evaluate these guys as such. But one of the ways we evaluate guys like AD is their effort defensively and their production defensively. And it was great in LA, and now it's not. And so, yeah, we have every right and privilege to challenge him. Like, you are in your prime, and that's not what we're seeing. Now, if it turns out there's a health issue, we'll find out. But right now, firing Vogel, I don't think will be the answer. No. And if it is, what's wrong with you, AD? What's wrong with Frank Vogel? He was fucking amazing for 2 seasons as a defensive coach. Why are you quitting on him now?
This is a Lakers problem, and the roster doesn't fit. Look, you got rid of Caruso, Kuzma, and KCP, guys who fit what you wanted to do, and you replaced them with Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook, right? The players who they're not going to defend at that level. Like,
I saw a dude on TV yesterday. I was doing my workout, so I had the volume just barely on. I don't know who it was, but he said his favorite TV show is Golden Girls. And that's what he reminded of when he watches the Lakers. Sports guy. It's pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Coach, you had something that spoke to you closely as a coach, and it relates to Fred VanVleet.
Yeah. Hey, Judy, play this one where it says my career as a pros coach. Yeah. You can play the audio. I meant to tell you that.
It's a lot more the game than hitting shots or not hitting shots, but when Nick is critical of Scotty for not taking threes, and then the last 4 games or whatever it is, he's taken 5, 6, 8, whatever. What does it say about him?
I think it just speaks to being accountable and being coachable, and that's part of this thing that we don't really talk about a lot. You know what I mean? We are very pampered, spoiled guys, and we make a lot of money, and everybody in our world is telling us how great we are. But sometimes you gotta have people to tell you the truth, and you gotta be able to accept that. So whether that's Nick pulling him after he threw that crazy behind the back pass, or just telling him to shoot more. He steps up, and he looks like he's been shooting all his life, right? So just being accountable, being coachable, and that's the best way to improve. And we got a lot of like upside to this team, and it's going to take growth every day, and that's all you want to see. So I think we've seen that from a lot of guys across the board.
I mean, I just want to hug him and be his best friend. I really, the pampered, spoiled part is really attractive to me too, because part of it, it's not their fault. Like, wouldn't you love coming home from work every day and have someone give you a massage and put you on a TENS machine and put you in an ice bath and just all the things they're doing? And they should get that. I'm not at all critical of any of those things, but it's easy to think, I've made this comment before in private to people who have success and money and are well-known. It's easy to start thinking that's how my life's supposed to be. I'll get just a very quick side note. When I used to go to Vegas every year for Summer League, young people always want to give me a ride somewhere because they want to get to know me. It's very smart by them to do. And in many cases, I knew them. They might be half my age. Hey, coach, are you going to this restaurant? I will give you a ride. And they always would make me want to sit in the front because I was the oldest dude in most of their cars. Even back 10 years ago, I was in my mid-40s. I was older. And I always would say, I've given speeches about this. I always said, I want to sit in the back. Now, I have a friend who used to always call worst seat possible. He would sit in the back middle. I didn't ever do that, but I would never sit in the front, almost never, because I didn't want to be that guy. It's easy enough when everyone's trying to do stuff for you and buy you meals, whatever. It was a way to remind myself that I'm no different than anybody else. I'm just luckier or older and been around a long time. Fred VanVleet, there's a reason why he's so fucking good. Yeah, we just saw it. We just saw it. He is telling the truth that you have to be accountable. And he was crediting Coach Nurse. Mm-hmm. That's the coach's job, to hold you accountable. I didn't realize Scotty Barnes must have made some stupid ass behind his back pass and got yanked for it. I love that. Like, there has to be a process that we have to respect. And if you're betting on the come, Toronto is a team, whoever has Fred VanVleet, like, pay attention, because you would guess that his teams are always going to be like him. Yeah. And Kyle Lowry is no different. So I'm a huge Fred VanVleet fan now.
I'm with VanVleet 100% here. The only thing I'm going to quibble with is I don't love that he used the words pampered and spoiled in the media, because then I think it is too easy for people to co-opt that and use it in the way that's not necessary, right? Like, NBA players should never have to apologize for the fact that they make millions of dollars. And look, that's the industry they play in. Yes. Would it be nice if the industry that the average fan played in was like that? Sure. But it isn't. Like, this is the world that they live in, right? They are among the 450 greatest players on planet Earth. That's a small pool of people and $1 billion industry. So multi-billion dollars. So yeah, you're going to make lots of money because that's how it works, right? Because only so many people can do that. Well, so that's my only quibble.
Yeah, I understand your point completely. That's why I was saying they need to be treated that way. They are the best in the world. Show me a CEO of a Fortune 500 company that's staying at Radisson's.
They don't even know what a Radisson is.
That's
flying, never heard of that.
Right, that's flying commercial, right? And they're not with a team. They're on their own.
No scheduled flights. Yeah, no scheduled flights.
They've got the masseuses and everything else, and their bodies aren't what's making their company money, like these guys. So I have zero problem with any of that. Like I said, they need it. Their bodies are what helps everyone make their money and have success. The challenge is buying into it and thinking somehow. I've had meals with very successful, wealthy people, not necessarily athletes, who treat waitresses terribly. And I speak up, like and my daughter is too. I'm happy to say, like, I have no patience for that. It's great that you're successful, but it doesn't mean you're better than people as a human being. Correct. It means you're good at what you do. Congratulations. Correct. But you are not going to treat the Uber driver or the waitress improperly, or the waiter in my presence anyway. 100%. And I'm happy to tell you that 95+% of professional athletes I've dealt with are so good at recognizing how lucky they are and treat people like absolute gold. Jerry Seinfeld says this all the time. Like, it is our responsibility to be the best tippers ever. Mm-hmm. The public is what makes us our money. Exactly. And so he calls it celebrity tip. He's the best at celebrity tipping. And I think most players get that. And But they don't always want to hear being coached up right.
Right.
And Fred saying you need to be listening to coaches. Correct. Yeah, I love that.
Well said, Caleb. It is indicative, and that's a very good sign of what someone is as a person, how they treat people that have no impact in their lives. That is 100% true.
Right.
I got a quick question before we get into our top 5, Coach. Yeah. The top 5 of Luka's draft. So Ayton, Bagley, Luka, Trey, and Jaren. Reggie Miller said this week, and Luka talked about it, I had a long off season. I'm probably not in the best shape, et cetera, et cetera. Do you feel like we gave Luka a little bit too much too early in terms of like anointing him as like, oh, you're already an MVP candidate. You're already this. And maybe he's kind of like, oh, I'm already here and kind of taking it a little bit easy. Whereas like Ayton didn't really have that, right? Like everybody's like, oh, what a mistake you guys made not taking Luka, right? So he had to, do his work and all that. Trey is obviously like done his thing in Atlanta. He's actually advanced farther. So is DeAndre Ayton in the playoffs, right? Do you think we gave a little bit too much to Luka too early?
Definitely not. But I think you make a great point. One of the great things about the NBA, which is so much like life, is nobody gives a fuck what happened yesterday if you don't get it done today. You may think they do, and maybe it carries a little bit of leverage for a little bit of time. But if I did the laundry every day for a week and cooked dinners for my wife and did the dishes for a week and then scattered and wasn't around much, she wouldn't be around long. I'd be kicked out and deservedly so. Like every day, this is the challenge. And so I think Luka, who has always been a partier from what people that I know in Dallas say, has just forgotten what it took to be Luka. He deserved all the praise he got. And if he had been on Phoenix's team, or I think he's better than Trae Young, but not now. He looks swollen to me. the rumors are true. I can look at it. He and Zion, old Zion. I'm not sure where Zion is now, but he was heavier before. And so show up and get in shape. Draymond Green lost 25 pounds in a heartbeat a couple years ago. Luka needs to do the same thing, and then we'll be reminded. But if you don't, it doesn't matter. You're not as good as you used to be. That's the way it is. It's an unforgiving sport, an unforgiving league.
Love it. Really quick, shout out to our Grizzlies. No John Morant, and they're doing our boy Tripp's doing his thing. He is
dominating. When you've got a player dominating, 6'11" with long wingspan and really skilled, dunking on AD. Let's go. I'm excited for what they can be down the road. They've got a lot of nice players with 2 real stars in Ja and JJJ.
I'm a little worried about RJ Barrett. Should I be?
Well, did you see what Thibodeau said about him? He's got to spend more time in the gym. Yeah. We've seen a lot of players. It was just like Luka. RJ, I don't know for sure. He may have gotten lazy regarding his work ethic as a shooter after having a great season last year. No one cares what you did last year. When it's this year, you got to put in the work. And maybe he is, and maybe he's injured. I don't know the details, but he had one good year. Sorry, buddy. You've got to just work and work. To your point, real quick, I know we'll get to our top 5 about privilege and pampered and spoiled. What makes the greatest players the greatest is they don't stop working. It's a hard lesson to learn. Human nature is to relax when you've done something good. You cannot relax in this league.
Correct. All right, let's go with our top 5. Who you got? Number 5.
Coach? I'm going with a tie with the Grizz and the Hawks, who are on fire right now and really playing. I think they're 7-3 in the last 10. Both teams are really playing well.
I like it. Number 5, I'm going Chicago Bulls, man. Like even with their COVID mini outbreak, which that's something to watch. They're still playing good basketball, man.
Yeah, I can't argue. I got Milwaukee at 4.
Ooh, I wanted to move Milwaukee up, but I'm like, they're not quite there yet. I put in my top 4 Cleveland just because they're doing it, right? The numbers say it. So I'm putting Cleveland up there.
They played a top 3 schedule. Yeah. Our top 3 will be probably the same.
Probably.
It's close, but I've got Utah at 3.
Yes, me too. Utah's 3. And then, so we got 2-1.
Phoenix and Golden State. Yeah.
Correct.
I don't know if there's big games this weekend or not. I haven't looked because my wife's only coming home, so I'm hoping to see her.
So you said forget basketball this weekend.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's on Hawaii time and she's trying to reset her clock. So I imagine I'll be watching games later. Are there any big games this weekend?
Not that yes, Saturday. Steph and the Warriors are at Philadelphia playing the 76ers. He's 10 away from the record. He may do it on his brother. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great to see it. And I'm sure his dad and mom will be there too.
And then tonight, Nets Hawks. So yeah, we got some good games.
Oh, nice. That's a good game.
Yeah, it's a good game. Got some good games. Folks, Have a good weekend. Everybody stay safe out there. And we will see you on Monday. Take care, everybody.